Hi everyone. Today with us we have Revika Anand, and she's currently pursuing PhD at Lancaster University in the UK, and her area of research is intent-based networks, network security, and mobile networks. And talking about her past experience in academics, she has pursued her bachelor's of technology in computer science from my very own university, IGD2W. And talking about her past experience, she has also worked as an intern at JP Morgan, and she is one of the exchange students who pursued her eighth semester from the UK but got transferred all the credits to IGD2W. So, Heidi, thank you for joining me today, and hopefully, I'll get to learn a lot from you today.
Okay.
So, how did this thought come to your mind that you need to pursue your bachelor's or your further studies from university that is not in India? And how did this thought pop in your mind?
Okay, in all fairness, I always wanted to do my bachelor's abroad. I had applied to a lot of universities in the US as well as Canada, and I had received an acceptance from almost all of them, but for some reasons I could not pursue it, and I ended up at IGDUW doing the B.Tech in computer sciences. So always had this passion of doing one kind of course abroad. So always had that in the back of my mind. I suppose that is eventually what sort of led me towards the study abroad thing when I found it. And as for the PhD, I did some research while at IGD2W, which was absolutely, honestly, I did not expect to build as much interest that I did in research. It was all thanks to like the faculty at IGD2W, more specifically Bhavna Narwal ma'am and A.K. Mohapatra sir, who definitely nurtured my interests in research and made me see the credit in this field and how well I fit into this field. So it was thanks to them that I discovered that, you know what, maybe research is not the worst option for me. Maybe I am going to enjoy it. And that's how I essentially decided to do the PhD. And the abroad factor came from my passion to do a bachelor's abroad.
That seems nice. Okay, can you please tell us more about your journey? Like, how did you approach the professors? Like, you are the very first case from IGD2W to do so. How did you approach professors and deans, and how did you convince them that I'm gonna do this? And how did all this thing work out? What was the backstory of this?
Well, I mean, okay, in terms of the semester abroad, one day me and my friend were just sitting down. The COVID lockdown had just ended and university had just reopened, and we were like, well, you know what would be fun? Just doing one semester somewhere else. Because we knew that the uni was planning to close up again for the eighth semester. And we were like, we really don't want to stay at home. I mean, all our college life was in lockdown at home in COVID. Don't want to do that. Exchange, that sounds fun. And that's how the thing for exchange came up, and we were like, okay. And I was crazy enough to pursue it. So I sat down, I looked up all the universities that offered exchange programs, and mostly they require a memorandum with your university, like in my case with IGD2W, for the exchange to take place. But since, that made me want to talk to some of the professors to find out which universities we actually had an MOU with. I found out that IGD2W at that moment didn't really, well, it had a memorandum with a few universities, but none of them offered courses in which I was interested. So I decided to look for universities with open exchange programs. And some of the different universities have different names for this program. The one in Lancaster is called the Study Abroad program. Some programs are called visiting student programs. And the ones that I looked at was one from New York University in the US, University of Melbourne in Australia, and Lancaster University. These were the three main that I considered. I did look at a few in Singapore as well, but those were a bit more complicated, and also Johns Hopkins in the US. The reason that I considered these particular universities is because my interest was computer security. Network security, computer security, cybersecurity, those fields basically. So I just sat down, searched best universities in the US for computer security, and Australia and UK and Canada, so on and so forth. Found their study abroad programs, visiting programs, etc., etc., and tried to like map those. And for my interests and my particular use case, so to speak, the universities that I ended up applying to was only two, Lancaster and New York university. Another that I considered was John Hopkins, but the process of application for that one was a bit lengthy and a bit complicated, so I decided to just not do it. And Melbourne was a university that I really, really liked. It had some amazing courses and amazing programs and stuff, and I really would have liked to go there. But by the time their like time to apply and the decision rolled around, I already had a decision from Lancaster as well as New York, so I decided not to apply there. Um, well, that was how essentially I shortlisted the universities and got this thought of the study abroad thing.
Okay, Di. So it was basically that you needed to convince your professors a lot that, yeah, I'll do it. And
In terms of the professors, uh, something that it wasn't easy, I'll give you that. So the person that I started with was, like I mentioned earlier, my supervisors Bhavna Narwal ma'am and AK Mohapatra sir, because I'd been working with them for the past like almost 1.5 2 years, so they knew me well and they like had done research with me and stuff. So they knew my dedication, my hard work, and everything. They basically knew me, so that's where I started, and then it sort of like stemmed to talking to the head of examinations, the head of the academy department. I even had a meeting with the vice chancellor, a lot of meetings with the registrar, and it was just convincing everybody. And once, obviously, a meeting with the HOD of CSE as well, because I was in the CSE department. Well, after approximately 3 months of convincing and paperwork, it I'm just glad it came through.
that was hard enough. I could have given up in that situation. Like, it was a 3-month long journey to convince everyone.
In all fairness, everybody was convinced pretty much fairly early. It was just hard because of the marks conversion thing. So, because the way that Lancaster marks stuff is completely different, or any other foreign university for that fact, marks stuff like semesters and grading and stuff is very different than it is done in IGD2W. And that was the main, basically, problem that everybody was facing. Everybody was super enthusiastic about it. Everybody was up for supporting me for it. Honestly, this was the only stopper that we had, because the university in its like rules did not have any clause specifying how the conversion would take place, and therein lied the main barrier. So it was just those 3 months. It was basically just everybody trying to figure out how the marks conversion would take place. It was just that. Everybody was completely up for helping, and all of the people that I mentioned, like HODs and registrars and registrar sir and VC ma'am, everybody was up for it. So eventually, the one thing that was important in this process was for example, I did it for the 8th semester. So in the 8th semester, you have one compulsory subject and 2 department electives. So I had to map them directly to whatever I took at Lancaster. So my compulsory course, for example, was embedded systems. So I had to make sure that at Lancaster I took an embedded systems course as well, and 2 departmental electives, which meant that I had to take 2 courses related to computer sciences at Lancaster, and then 1 GEC, general elective, and I could take any course in that one. And then basically what we did was, I mean, you might find this on IGD2 ordinances and stuff as well. They basically converted marks to 100 scale, and accordingly they graded it.
Like you mentioned about subjects, one was GEC, two were departmental electives, and one was compulsory subject. But in the 8th semester of B.Tech, students also have one major project. So, what did you put in that major project?
So for the major project, I did that at IGD2W, because major project is mostly just an extension of your minor project in most cases. Some people do it completely different, but in my case, it was like yeah, just an extension. And I had been working with Bhavna ma'am and Mohapatra sir for a long time anyway. So we just worked remotely on it, and it was a research paper. So yeah.
Bhavna ma'am and Mohapatra sir are gem of a person. They are really helpful to each and every student, no matter what their problem is.
Definitely. In all fairness, for me, almost everybody did that. Arun sir, Jasdeep ma'am, RK Singh sir, BC ma'am, everybody was like, right, they helped a lot.
Okay, Di. So, can you tell us more about like what financial aid did you get? Like, fee structure might not be same for IGD2W and Lancaster. So, how did you manage that financial?
Okay. So when your university has an MOU, that means you're not paying the tuition fee, you're only paying your living expenses. But since IGD2 did not have an MOU with Lancaster, I had to bear all the expenses, which meant I paid my fee myself, as well as all the living costs and everything, which is a substantial amount. So that is important. Like
Okay, so there might not be any scholarship for students who are looking for such things.
well, since I was the first case, there weren't any till I was a student IGD2W. I do remember like there were talks about it, but I'm not sure. I'm not really up to date about what there is now and not, so can't comment on that.
Okay, now comes the magic moment. Like, you pursued your bachelor's and then directly got admission into PhD. How? Like, without any masters.
Well, okay, so here at Lancaster, and I think in the UK as well. Not really sure about that one, but yeah, it's not. It just depends on what kind of experience you have and what kind of like inclination you have towards research, essentially. So I met my supervisor, my current supervisor for my PhD, during my semester abroad here. Uh, he was taking one of the courses like that I was doing, and I just contacted him one day out of the blue, and I just talked to him because I had wanted to do a PhD. So I was just like, you know what, no harm, no foul in picking some, like, somebody's brain about how stuff is here. And I had worked on one of the course projects with the people here, and it was like in this department, and it was really, really good, and my experience was good. So I was inclined to talk to the professor about the PhD as well. So I was like, why not just talk about it? I know it's a future thing, but might as well just mention it. So when I talked to them about it, they were like, oh, you can do it directly after bachelor, especially since I had I have 5 publications in IGD2W, and also bachelor's, and I did the internship as well. So they were like, so here in Lancaster specifically, in order to pursue your PhD, you only require a master's when your bachelor's was a bit different than whatever you want to pursue the PhD in. My bachelor's was completely computer centric, and my PhD right now is computer networks, so pretty much the same field. So they believed, like my supervisors were completely happy with the fact that I did not have a master's, because directly associated with the field, like computer networks, computer science, pretty much all there. And the course that I took here, it was advanced computer networking, and yeah, I did pretty well in it, so they were satisfied that I'd be able to handle it.
You mentioned about 5 publications. That is a huge number. Being a student and handling the academics, handling all other stuff, internships. You got intern at JP Morgan as well, and you also have 5 publications. So hats off to you.
Thank you. In all fairness, it was all Bhavna ma'am and naturally sir, so all the credit goes to them.
Okay, Di. My next question for you is what is the timeline to apply at universities? Like in which month we should start looking up for universities if we are willing to apply for studying abroad?
Okay, so you can either apply for one semester abroad or a whole year abroad, depending on which semester you're applying for. Basically, if you want to apply for a whole year, you'll probably be applying during the summer break. So, well, before the summer break, I'd say. So, somewhere around April. you should start looking. And I'm because the term starts in August here. Well, some places it starts August, some places it starts October. So April is the right time to start looking. And I'm quite sure the deadline for the whole year is quite early, because okay, I'm not sure about the deadlines for the whole year because I myself applied for just one term, and that was like the second term, like eighth semester, so the even semester. For that, I can give you exact timelines. So I started looking somewhere in August approximately, and at that time the deadlines were some were in September, uh, two were in October, and then the Melbourne one was in November and somewhere. So that was essentially the timeline. So by the end of October, so the universities like Lancaster and NYU, New York universities, these had their deadline somewhere in September. So by the end of October, already had their offers and everything. Yeah, so that is the basic timeline. So if you're looking for just one semester and that to the even semester, go for somewhere around August. And if you're looking for the odd semester or the whole year, go for April.
Okay, Di. So, I had one more question for you. Like, whenever we go to a new city or we settle down there, it is human in nature that we need some time to get settled down there, and then we get used to the daily routine. So, did you face any issues getting settling down at Lancaster and studying there for your eighth semester? And how long was that a semester for you?
So my joining, like the first day of the semester, was a week after I got here, somewhere 18th of January, if I'm not wrong. So again, Lancaster was really good in terms of the transition, honestly. So they had a whole week of activities set up for us, and by activities I mean campus tour, town tour, and they basically told us, they literally told us everything. Grocery shopping, you go here. Buses, you go here. If you want to buy bed sheets, you go here. So basically, they had everything laid out for us, and they made the transition really really easy. Um, so I'm not really sure how other universities do it, but Lancaster was really, really well set up. They organized a lot of socials and stuff because since it was the even semester, it was like right in the middle of the year. So they set up a lot of social events and stuff so that we could, sort of integrate ourselves with the people who were already here and the other study abroad people. So I had one of the best times with the other study abroad people only because of the socials that Lancaster set up. And yeah, so without the whole integration system that they had set up, it would have taken a lot longer for me. But given that they probably, because they have a long standing study abroad program and an exchange program, and clearly they've learned a lot from it. So they were really good with helping with the integration. And that one week was actually really good in terms of the settling and stuff, because, yeah, pretty much everything was very smooth because of it. They even arranged like buses from the airport, which is like approximately 2 hours away, to all the way to the uni and everything. So it was pretty well planned.
And how's the curriculum at Lancaster? Was it a more rigorous one?
Well, so since I was doing it for my eighth semester, uh, I okay. I was supposed to be doing 4 subjects that semester, but I really liked some of the subjects that they were offering here. So I ended up doing like 5 subjects here, and then my major project in IGDTW. And due to some problems, I was not able to pursue my compulsory subject, embedded systems, here. So I had to do that back at IGDTW. So I had like 6 subjects running as well as the major project. So in all fairness, it was a bit crazy for me, but if I just talk about it in terms of Lancaster and how my timetable looked, it was actually pretty chill, for the lack of a better word. We My timetable, it was like, I remember Tuesday I only had like one class, 1 hour of class in the whole day, and that's it. But then Friday I had like 2 labs, which was like 4 hours. So it was like pretty much like IGD2W essentially, but pretty chill.
One more question for you, Revika D, is how has been your experience at Lancaster and are you enjoying it? I can see that you are enjoying it, but I would like to hear it from you. And another question is any tips and suggestions for those who wish to study abroad or wish to study as an exchange student who are currently pursuing their bachelor's from India?
One thing that is a very sad truth is that it doesn't matter which country you're kind of going to, you will need a little bit of financial means for it. And it is important because I, in all fairness, all the other study abroad students I met, they had a lot of financial constraints, and that kind of helped us bond, honestly, because everybody was like, okay, because everybody had the whole since money conversion, currency conversion, and stuff. We were like, okay, the bus here costs this much. Oh my god, that is so much. So basically, stuff like that. Uh, that is that was one really big shock. That can be a really big shock. So it's a bit, it can be a bit harder to adjust to that. In terms of other Lancaster experiences, overall, I feel like the whole study abroad program, in spite of everything, in spite of all like the behind the scenes stuff that can get hard, I would still suggest this experience because it is definitely a once in a lifetime experience. You get to meet people from all over the world. I can literally, with confidence, say right now, I know a person in France, a person in Taiwan, a person in New Zealand, Australia, so on and so forth. And it's just an amazing feeling to be able to say that. And also, just, it's pretty cliche stuff, but just meeting people and learning more about their cultures and how, their university lives and how they got here, their journey, and also just making new memories with them, making your own journey with them. So, for example, first week of us getting here, study abroad, 8 of us randomly decided, okay, weekend, let's go up to Edinburgh in Scotland. And we just all got on a train, 8 of us, and we just went out. Best times. Crazy, but best times. So definitely an experience which is, yeah, it's a pretty great experience. Definitely suggest it to everybody.
I'm glad to hear that you are enjoying your life at Lancaster and in the UK, and you got a lot of friends from all over the world. Like you can say, you know everyone from every corner of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, Dee. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I myself got to learn a lot from you and about the whole process. Like, I knew that you are an exchange student, you are pursuing your PhD from this, but I did not know the whole story, like how to apply, when to apply, and what are the steps, and like all the pros and cons. You explained them very precisely. Thank you for all that.
Of course, no worries. Anytime.
Okay. Okay, so I would be mentioning Revika D's LinkedIn in the description box, and you can directly connect with her and you can ask your doubts. I hope that no more doubts would be left, and you can ask your doubts if still you have any. And thank you, Dee, for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Okay.